Hey everyone, this is Jonas from Islandworks again, soldiering on, having a little bit of fun with my project again. For those of you that have watched this before, you know what it's about. For those that haven't, this is my track dedicated toy. It started out as a Porsche 964 C4, but it's gone through a little bit of a transformation. And through this transformation, we've lost a little bit of weight, gained a little bit of technology, we'll gain a little bit of horsepower, and more specifically, we have lost so far 306 kilos, which is actually 675 pounds. Not bad. And you can look at the other episodes if you want to see exactly what I've done. Right now, the focus is really to get this guy ready to run on the track. So I haven't found that much weight savings lately. Last time around, for example, we put the livery on, made something very personal, something that I like very much. This time we're gonna plant it on the ground with the wheels it's supposed to have, get that perfect stance in so that we can carry on with the other pieces. Let's have a look at that. And figuring out the wheels on this guy was, it's a little bit more of a challenge than what I thought initially. Usually you just go on Google and you look at other people, what they have done. You're gonna find someone with similar fenders, you're gonna find someone with similar setup, similar wheels, and you figure it out. With this car, nothing looks like it's supposed to. So it's been extremely difficult to go and figure something out. So this is what I did. So first step was to just put my old E28 rims on. These are 5-lug, so they don't work. I've made a little adapter here so I can still use the center lock nut. What I started doing was I started using these, and I looked at this and tried to figure out if this made sense. When you do this, don't think you're gonna do this with the car in the air, because it looks completely different when you put it down. So let's put it down. Okay, so this is how it looks. I see that I do need to come a little bit further out. It's kind of hiding a little bit inside the fender. This is 225 tires. I'm going to use 245 on 9-inch rims. So it is going to be wider by... the tire will naturally be wider so that it almost goes out there. The challenge I have is I have to find a rim combination that clears the caliper, because these ones, they will not clear the calipers. These 991 cup calipers that I have, they are so incredibly big that I have a really tough time finding any rims that will clear the calipers. So process here, looking at this, trying to measure a little bit, trying to guess a little bit, try to figure something out. I think I can go out about 1 inch here. Let's lift it up and test the other rims I'm thinking to use. And here we go. Here are the other rims I wanted to use. These are from Porsche 997 RSR. I bought these secondhand. They're really nice. They got like extra weight pockets or speed pockets here. So they're a little bit lighter than the normal BBSs, and they have the right center. So I bought these from a 997 RSR. They're way too wide, right? So now I have to figure out, do I need to change this one, or both? Preferably, I would just like to change one of them, because it's expensive stuff and my money is running out. So let's put this one on. And of course they fit perfectly on the hubs, because this is the 997 RSR hubs, and now this is the 997 RSR wheels. When I look at this though, And I have done up some measuring on this before, so I know that this actually doesn't fit. It needs to go in a little bit. And not only that, because of the enormous brake calipers, actually the wheels need to come out just a little bit. So I've designed a concept which I haven't fabricated yet. I've just tested it up with a little bit of a spacer on the inside. I'm going to do some modifications here and on the drive pegs and a few different things. But nevertheless, I think this is it. And my concept here is, I believe I can manage this by only changing the inner barrel. So we have the inner barrel on the BBS, we have the outer barrel on the BBS. These are 2 inches, and the inside is 9 inches because these are 11-inch rims. If I just change the inner one to 7-inch, then I get 9-inch, and then I have to simply move this piece so that I get this to the right place. And I can actually move this in and out with the concept here, because I can move my front subframe in and out with the 993 arms, with the inner positions, with the outer positions, and so on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild this wheel to 9-inch now, put a tire on it, put a final setup there, and see if I like this or not. Let's do that. Rebuilding these rims is not that difficult. It is just like you can imagine a number of bolts here that you need to untighten. I'm going to do that step by step, just taking one at a time. As soon as you've done that, you take it apart, you clean it, you put it back together. There's a few steps that you need to think about, however. Let's start with taking it apart. So getting this apart, really easy. You have to have a 12-sided one of these though. So I'm going to take this one, just take the lap around here and untighten these. And once I've untightened these, then you can actually start splitting it apart. These are pretty tight sometimes, so I'm releasing them first with this one, and then I'm going to use a machine to just take them out. Okay, so with all the bolts out, we bring up the heat gun. We're just going to warm up the outside of the rim just a little bit so that this one releases. So let's do that. So what the heat does is it expands the outer barrel a little bit. Oh, there you go. You can just take that one off. And expanding it allows you to just work away with the clearance that you have here. What I've done is I've put a number of soft just weld gloves under here, because this is going to pop out. There we go. So I got the hub out. We have now the seal. That is an aluminum ring. So this one here, it sits, as you can see, with just like a seal out there. It is wider. See that? It's wider than what the ring is, and when you squish this together, it gets tension. Front part of the rim, or the outer part of the rim, we will be reusing. So I'm just gonna brighten it up with a little Scotch Brie here. I did want to show you a little bit more about these hubs. This is the RSR hub. It's called BBS 020 11 26, and the rears are called 27 if I'm not mistaken. The difference between the front and the rears is that this one is a little bit deeper to make more room for calipers, right? If we look at a normal E88 center, it looks very similar, right? Look at this one and look at this one. They look very similar, right? But when you look in the pockets here, you see that they've actually taken material out of the pockets like this. Wow, look at that. That's not trivial machining. These ones are straight, right? So I have measured these. This one is half a kilo more than this one. That's almost a pound. Putting it together, not a big deal. Put the face down. I'm gonna check the seal one more time. A sane person would replace this seal. I'm gonna see if I'm lucky and if this one holds tight still. The rubber looks perfect. It looks almost like someone has just disassembled this rim. Take my new 7-inch barrel, and the trick now is to not tighten all of these at once, one by one, but really cross tighten this so that you make sure the rim with this tight clearance gets squeezed properly into this straight rather than at an angle. I can see that it's sitting at an angle right now. And once you've bottomed them out all in a crisscross pattern, I'm gonna torque them. I think it's 17 Newton meters, which is about this much. And I'm gonna take every other one just now, since they're already essentially tight. I'm just checking it. Last, and possibly also least, we have a little valve here. Typically, you just replace it. I don't know if you typically do that, but typically I would think I would replace it. What I'm gonna do instead of just replacing it is install one of my latest little purchases here. This is an AIM tire pressure measuring system. It looks like this. I think it looks like this on usual cars as well. The good thing about this is that this is an aftermarket tool. You put this somewhere inside of the car, and then the 4 tire pressures, they come out of this CAN bus port here, which means I can get this installed in my big Motec dash. So I will, from my driver's position, not have to run out in the pit and check the tire pressures if I feel that something is off. I can actually see it in displays. I could put up some warnings. I could start measuring how long time it takes before my pressure comes up. These do come in a more sophisticated version that has also tire temperature built in, but I couldn't afford it, so this is what I got. Very simple, just take the valve off. And that's how it looks done up. It just sits there and hides a little bit in the side there. And on the outside, it just looks like a normal valve. So this rim is now done. I'm gonna get it off to the tire shop, put my Michelin Cup 2s on. It's actually called Cup 2 Connect, because they have something in their tires where you can actually put this kind of sensor inside a tire and it gets connected to your cell phone. So you can get tire pressure, you can get temperature from that guy as well, but it's in your cell phone, and I really wanted to have it inside of this so that I get it into the car, into the logging, and yeah, maybe Michelin will update that in the future or and of course, before we put these nice babies back on the car, we want to do a little bit of scoring. So I'm gonna bring out my old wheels, look at them compared to the new ones. And the old ones, really nice magnesium E28 with Trofeos. Fronts are 225s. They are reasonably worn, weighing in at 19.5 kilo. And the new ones with 245 tires, so a little bit wider, brand new rims, sorry, brand new tires, weighing in at 18.8. So we got a difference of 0.7 kilos in the fronts. Amazing, because this is a wider tire and this is brand new, it's not worn down. So 0.7 kilos just on one side in the front. Rear, 265 tires, just barely the maximum you can get in on a 964 narrow body. This one is 21.3. And the new one, 295 tires, so it is wider, it is 22. And here's the funny thing, we saved 0.7 kilos per side in the front. It's adding 0.7 kilos to the back. So actually, I'm not too unhappy with this, because this is a much bigger tire. This is also a brand new tire. So if I was measuring brand new Trofeos against brand new these ones, or brand new the same size, whatever, actually I think these wheels are lighter than the previous ones I had, and I actually didn't expect that. It might be that the pockets they've taken out of the rims, it might be something else, I don't know. They are at least not heavier than the other ones. So, this part done. And here we go. That's the 245 tire on. We can see we got just a nice kind of rim width for it. It's very straight, very nice. I have put the caliper on, and the little mock-up of a distance that I have there. And we can see that we clear the caliper just nicely now. So let's put the car down on the ground and see how this now looks. My expectation is that we are about 10 millimeters too wide. So if that's correct, then I know what I'm going to move on the inside. This might be more than what I thought. Looks like I need to go in like an inch here. Ugh. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the subframe in one notch, put it back on, and see how that looks. That means I'm going to be, in that case, using the inner 964 points with just wider wheels, which I discussed a little bit with my friend Robin here, and we think this is going to be okay using the inner points with wider rims. It's going to be good for the Ackerman, but I'm going to have a little bit of an offset here in the front. So this might be something that I need to test. If I don't like this, I will have to rebuild these rims again. Now look at it from here. See, it's about this much. That needs to go in, and at the same time I want it to look decent, because this I like the proportions. I don't want it to be kind of hiding inside the fender, but the way it looks now is not okay. And while I'm at it, I'm also looking at the rear. I have my originals here. This is 265 tires, BBS E28s that I've just added with adapters here. So this obviously doesn't work. It's a huge amount of space here, so need to figure something out there. The rims I'm going to use it's the 997 RSRs. Of course, I'm going to use the same in the front and the rear. These are 13-inch, which is not what I'm going to use, not by even a stretch. So this is 4-inch on the outside and 9-inch on the inside. I've measured here, and it looks like I'm a little bit lucky. I think this one will fit. I'm going to change this to 7-inch, so that's the same actually as I attempted in the front. So I'm going to do the swap, and we put this wheel on and we see how it looks. So with a little bit of luck, this will work straight out of the gates. This is the 295s on this one now, and you can see that the rim versus tire, I have the right size here, so 11-inch to 295. Let's put this on and see how it looks. Heavy stuff. So if my calculations are correct, this should be just about perfect straight out of the gates. I haven't done the toe and camber adjustment. I'm going to run about 3 degrees something in the back, and maybe pretty straight on the toe, maybe a little bit in. So that of course will adjust where the wheel is. I hope I don't end up in a situation where I have to run a lot of camber just to get it on the inside of the fender. Let's put it down, have a look. What do you think? I think it is maybe just a little bit too far out. Car sits a little bit too high as well, but I can't get it further down because because I have no weight in the back, and I've taken the shocks down as far down as they possibly could, and it still doesn't get to where it needs to be. So maybe I need to go a little bit further in. I'm actually not sure. I hope not, because it's going to be extremely difficult to manage that right now. On the other hand, I have almost I have very little camber. So let's see if I can get a little bit more camber on this guy. And I'm gonna do a very, very crude just camber gauge here. I think I'm maybe just around 2 degrees something. So this is not how you're supposed to measure camber, but this will give me an idea. And I'm at 16 millimeters there. I should be at about 26, 27 something, I think. So I'm gonna dig in there and see if I can wriggle it out a little bit so I get a little bit more camber. So it's quite difficult to figure out exactly where this is gonna stop when I don't have an engine in the car, and you have to adjust so much and all these things. So what I did was I put this little hydraulic table under the damper, or sorry, under the wheel, and I released the damper. So the damper is actually not attached. So now I can kind of pump the wheel up without anything happening. And I can see that up here somewhere, this is where it rubs. And that's pretty far up. A real curb bump or something like that is probably going to go higher than this, and I don't want to damage these nice fenders. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more camber. My measurement says that I'm at about 2, maybe a little bit less than 2 right now. So I'm going to push it out a little bit. And I'm now sitting on the inside playing with the camber adjustment, and I'm filming this, and then I'm going to look at the video because I want to see how big of a change this does from the outside. And I'm down under now, and as you could see when I was wiggling this bolt here, you could see that the wheel was changing. So let me explain a little bit how this works. So this is the DRS spring plate here. As I turn this one, you can see that this point actually moves up and down a little bit, and that changes the angle of this one as it pivots around at this point here in this instance. You can turn it around, have it in different angles, but the whole basis is that if this one moves down, you change the angle of this, and as you change the angle in this direction, the wheel will camber out, right? And with that adjustment, I am at about 3.5 something. It will have to go for final alignment to figure out exactly what it is. With this one, I can see though that this rim combination is just about the right one. So if I hit a curb really, really hard, I will not damage my fender, and it looks like this is a good compromise here. Let's put it down on the ground again. So I looked at a few different ways of figuring out how to get the front wheels a little bit further into the car. What I ended up doing was reversing some of the stuff I did in one of the previous episodes. So there's 2 different beams on the 964 that connect to the lower trailing arms or the lower control arms. The 993 one is a little bit wider here, and typically what you do when you go from non-turbo to turbo width is you move these out one hole, and there's another hole in the car body to do that. What I ended up doing for this one is moving it in to the inner holes and then moving to the 993, which is a little bit wider. So I'm kind of in between now with the pivot point on a traditional 964 and a 964 turbo. So slightly kind of in between. Let's have a look at how that turned out. And this is how it now looks when it's been moved in. So the suspension is mounted now. So I'm actually kind of tilting the car here. But what we can see is we have about 3.5 degrees camber. I tried measuring it. Not so easy without proper tools. But if I pump this up, you see the car is coming up now. But it is clearing the fender. Yeah, it's hanging the car now. It's clearing the fender. I could possibly take off a little bit on the fender here, possibly add a little bit more camber, maybe, don't know. I think this is just it. Before I get the other side installed here, since we've kind of figured out how this should look now, I'm gonna put my steering rack in. This is one of the pieces of this build that didn't at all turn out as it was supposed to. I had actually ordered a manual steering rack, a really nice one, custom built, but it never arrived. So I'm gonna put back my old hydraulic power assisted steering rack here. I'm plugging it for now, but I'm gonna actually plug it over here in the continuation of this. What I have done is I've changed the tie rods. They are uniballs right now. Let me show you that. So the tie rods here, they are actually uniball here. That means I have absolutely no clearance in that. What you typically have on the 964, if I try to show you the original here, this is actually a rubber piece here on the inner tie rod. And what this means is that when you do some heavy braking or when you do some heavy steering, actually with this rubber here, you actually get toe out on your wheels. So actually your alignment settings, they change because you have rubber in this, and you want the car to be really consistent in a race application, right? So I'm changing to uniball here, so it's not going to change no matter what I do, if I'm braking or whatever I do. So I'm going to put this into the car and then put the other tire on, and I have the front subframe done. Okay, I am down under in the front right now, so I wanted to explain a few things here. We saw that I needed to move this point inwards in this direction, right? And as I try to explain here, you can do that in several different ways. One way is to simply just move this bolt hole here. It's actually 3 holes. I'm actually in the position of the 2 inner ones right now. This bolt is missing, but I'm in the position of the 2 inner. You could move it out so that you're in the position of the 2 outer. So on the 964 Turbo, you are in the 2 outer, right? But what I did was I used this component from a 993, which actually is longer out here and longer out there, 12.5 millimeters if I'm not wrong. So I moved this to the inner point and moved these to the outer point. So now the wheel is, what is it, 17.5 millimeters further in than what it was previously. My concern, if any, is that this kingpin here, this point here, that this is a little bit on the inside of the wheel. And that could make for a little bit of strange grub radius here. I don't think it's an issue. I really don't, but that could be an issue. The uniballs here, they are just on the inside of this. And this is a good place to explain the uniball. If you have the tire here, imagine that you're braking really, really hard. This will be pulling down like this, and that will actually try to turn the wheel a little bit. But both wheels will be trying to turn in the same direction. If you have rubber over here, it will actually move. So your car will toe out during braking. And that could be good for a road car, but for a race car, you don't want to change your toe settings as you're driving, right? So that's why you put uniballs just in here. Then installing the steering rack here is pretty straightforward. I had some help from my good friend Jan Erik. It really helps being 2. We did it as we changed these ones from the 964 to the 993. So when this one was out, we actually just inserted the steering rack, bolted it onto here, and then you're essentially good to go. One thing you have to do as you have changed steering rods is, you see this connects to the inner tie rod, which is just lurking in there, right? That then goes to the outer tie rod here. So one thing you have to do is you have to adjust this little washer here. This is the stopper washer. So this is the one that mechanically stops here, so that you can't kind of scrub in here. So what we had to do was we gave full in front in one direction. We adjusted this washer, which was actually all the way in. That's the location it needed to be. Then we adjusted the other one. And then we adjusted the thread length of this one here, so that when it is in the center, that both wheels are approximately straight. And in the end, I will of course have to do a wheel alignment, but If you center that, and then you center both wheels so that they're approximately straight, then once you do the proper wheel alignment, you're not too far off. You don't want to be completely off on one side and then think everything is right, and you put your steering wheel in there and then it looks crazy, right? As you can see, it's quite a lot of work just figuring out what wheels to put on this car, figuring out how wide they need to be, and then if you can use your settings of the car to make them really jive with the suspension, and essentially preparing it for track duty, because you don't want to be just a millimeter from the fender and then you hit a curb and you crack the fender. That wouldn't be very cool, right? Still have a little bit of work left in the front here, because I need to do that little spacer thing. I need to extend the drive pegs a little bit, and I think what I've learned is the 997 center lock system is really cool and also extremely difficult to fit on this car, together with the 991 cup calipers. Really difficult. And I did actually speak to PFC and ask for a little bit of help there, and they told me that they actually modified these calipers because they themselves realized that the 991 PFC caliper, the original configuration, is just too wide. So they've changed it around. I don't have the ones that are changed around, unfortunately, so I'm living with these. End result though, and I think I really nailed it with the width of these wheels. It's not low enough yet. It's gonna go down just a little bit, but I have no weight in here. So even at the lowest setting on the dampers, they still won't come down. In the front, I essentially have all the weight that I'm gonna have in the car in the front, except, you know, a few little bits and pieces there. And I think this is just where it needs to be. So, as you can see, I'm pretty psyched about this. I'm really happy to have a car that is very close to looking the way it's supposed to look. Unfortunately, we didn't find any weight saving today, but you know what? It was pretty cool anyway, and I'm pretty psyched. So, next time, I haven't figured out yet what we're gonna do, but it's gonna be something really fun. And if you haven't figured out how to press that subscribe button, I recommend you do it. It's gonna be really cool. See you next time.